Okay, folks, if you just bought a playset or you're about to buy a playset and you have some leveling issues, the biggest question I have all the time is, what do I do? How do I level this thing? And everyone says, oh, there's nothing in the book, there's nothing online, and so that's why I'm here. Okay, I'm going to try to give you guys as much information as I can about this. The biggest thing is that I can say, what I can recommend, okay, is to locally put gravel. This is called 3/4 minus gravel. Not to nerd out too hard on this, but 3/4 rock, and then anything minus that. So it's called 3/4 minus, normally speaking, and then basically it's all the smaller rocks, and it kind of fills in all the gaps here. And I can show you a difference between that kind of rock and another kind of rock, which is, this is 3/4 without the minus. It's more like the decorative rock that you'd see in a driveway. So there's kind of like two kind of versions of that. If you can notice that this is just the 3/4 and it doesn't have any of the minus. Okay. So that's basically kind of what it is. It's like, this stuff works really good. I mean, we're still using it. Gravel's gravel basically, but what we're kind of after is to get this thing kind of compact down, and the gravel can move around a little bit more if it's not 3/4 minus, and that's just my opinion. Okay, so that's kind of so basically what you can you can grade this thing off, and you take all the grass off, and you can get your neighbor with a tractor to come out here, and we're just gonna grade it all off. But what are we seeing here? We're seeing low spots in the gravel, in the dirt. Okay, this is what happens all the time. I go to install one of these things, and we've got little whoop-de-whoops, I like to call them. So little whoop-de-whoops through here, okay, and we've got little gaps, okay, and you can't really know where those gaps are until you see the playset there, right? You don't really know. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like if you took a level across the dirt, they'll say, okay, this is level, but it has a bunch of whoop-de-whoops, right? And what happens is, what do you do when you have all the little whoop-de-whoops? Or you go straight down on the grass, right? The grass is the same thing. There's some high spots or low spots and blah, 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 right? There's going to be some spots. And then what happens is this thing, it kind of can wiggle a little bit. And so what we want is to not let it wiggle. We put that gravel right there, right around it. Basically, that's the long and short of it of this story, because you can have sand and stuff like that. You can put this thing on sand, but the biggest thing is like if it's on sand, it's still gonna be a little squishy, right? So the biggest thing is like if they have a bunch of sand here, I'm personally not gonna move all the sand out of the way just so I can put build the thing, right? Because I'm not a landscaper, I'm a builder, right? I get paid to do building, and I'll just have to show up and do the building, okay? So that's just kind of, it's like a funny joke that I always say, I'm not a landscaper, I'm a builder, right? But that's the problem, is when I show up and it's all sand, and I'm not setting this down on the ground. You know what I mean? This can be a little more soupier because it's on sand, or it's on what? Bark chips. It's always on bark chips, right? You'll show up to do these, and it'll be on, let's just say this kind of bark chips. Okay. Can we what are we doing? I'm not trying to select, right? And this one, when I showed up here, it was about 3 to 4 inches of bark chip in like the lowest spots. Probably the highest spots was probably like 6 or 7 inches. So it was pretty thick stuff of bark chip, and we had to, and I was like, hey, and the guy was like, I don't even know what to do. Like, he did a really good job getting this thing graded. He did a really nice job. It looked really awesome. He did a good job, but it's kind of the same thing where nobody really knows what to do. Okay, then I'm going to show you one more thing. This is somebody who spent a lot of money to get this thing graded, and then he put gravel down. Okay, and this is perfect, right? this is good. This is like insanely good, right? We've got the nice 4x4s around. You can get the rounded kind that are like a little bit, more. They're kind of like, let's say like the fence, those like country fences. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but they're kind of like flat on top and on bottom, and then they have two sides that are rounded. They're kind of like a little bit more rounded instead of like, four corners. It's just like a little bit, softer than nailing, a toe into, a corner of a board. Right. So, that's what the guy said. He's like, I'm going to get some of that stuff and I'm going to be putting it around it. And blah, blah, blah. But this is basically, you've graded it down with the dirt, and then you've put rock on top, and then he compacted it down. Okay. They had a contractor in here doing all the stuff with, he had like, equipment and all kinds of stuff, dump trailers and all kinds of stuff coming in here and getting this, cause this was a pretty big pad. Okay. And they had to build it up because there was some drop, in the corner of this thing. So they actually had to build it up with a bunch of dirt, and then they compacted it down, put a bunch of gravel down. It looked great. It's actually awesome stuff. Okay. So, like kudos for this one. The only thing is even these ones, you zoom in, even that one will have some low spots inside this, because no matter what you do, you're going to have some low spots, somehow inside that thing, and it might rock just a little bit. Okay. So even if you do this, we want to throw a little bit of gravel underneath the low spots. And the best part about this is if you actually went all the way to a gravel base, then you have gravel everywhere. You literally can, just go find a corner of this thing and just grab a little bit of the gravel we got here and just shove it in there. Instead of like disturbing it right around this, you would just kind of find something from somewhere else, go in there and just fill in the little gaps. And it's not even much, but when that thing settles, it's going to have that extra little bit of foundation there, which is really what we're looking for. We don't want this thing to be rocking around. Okay. These things, this one here particularly is a really big one. And so, this probably, it's spread out. It's got like, the legs going this way and the swing set going that way. So the big, huge footprint. This thing isn't going to be rocking a whole lot, but like I said, you get some of these other ones, there's a skinny, tall ones. If they've got a lean on them, some of these skinnier ones, they're not as big, and they don't, this is a fairly big set, but is it really like, does it have the biggest footprint? Does it have like, what I mean? Like, it's just not as big as some of those other kinds. And even this one, this one's fairly small, but it has like, some extra things kind of coming out of it that does support it a lot more. And then they basically, they're building this base out as much as they can with these corners and stuff like that. Everything's got like a little extra footing on the ground to try to keep this thing from being so top heavy or whatever. Okay. So, and then inside here, you get the stakes. Everything gets staked down. But the thing is if you put it on some sort of medium, like the soft sand, you put it on top of the chip, you want to kind of get that stuff moved out of the way. And I'm just telling you, as a builder, I don't want to have to do that. I don't bring a shovel with me. I don't bring a rake. And we are told by the people who pay us to install this stuff that basically we're not allowed to dig. So, like we can do some like things right on the spot, like right here, right on the spot right there. I needed to level off this ladder. But there was a little bit of extra dirt here. I'm going to grab my hammer and I'm just going to dig that spot out just a little bit, just so I can make sure that works out perfectly. But I'm not gonna, like, you know what I mean. But we're not supposed to be digging out here. We're not supposed to be doing all this, landscaping. Let's just say. Okay, so I just wanted to say, like, this. Hopefully, this really does help somebody, because, yeah, I mean, putting it on top of this gravel, it's great. But sometimes people go, "Oh, I don't want to put it on gravel. What about the kids? They're gonna, I don't want gravel. I want them, what if they fall off this thing? This thing's supposed to have chip around it, blah blah blah." Yeah, well, the gravel goes underneath. Okay, you put chip on top of that. She said, "Oh, for this one," she goes, "the gravel's fine for now. We want, because we needed to build it. We put it on gravel, and if we can level this thing perfectly." This thing came out really level, and then later on, she's gonna put some sort of, bark, and chip. Okay, and then okay. Here's another pro tip. Don't be putting that fine mulch stuff down. That stuff's for garden beds. Okay, get play chip. Play chip is its own stuff. Like, this stuff is basically giant chips. Okay, real big chips, real big chunks. Most of the time, it's really consistent and actually doesn't have a lot of. So if it's like really good chip, and I know I'm nerding out on this stuff, like I'm nerding out on the asphalt, but hear me out. Some of this chip, it's not play chip, it's just mulch, and they'll have these sticks and stuff in it, right? But like I said, there's like premium stuff that's called play chip that doesn't have all those other different sizes of things, and it just has those chunks in it. It's like the same thing as having like the premium gravel. Okay, there is a difference, and some people do just play chip, and some people don't, or some people, say their stuff is play chip, and some people don't say it is. You really want to see if they're calling it play chip, get a sample from them. If that's something, you know what I mean? Because sometimes, like, these long sticks and all that stuff, that's not good for the kids to be barefoot and all that stuff. Because the kids' shoes pop off. The first thing that the kids do, they kick the shoes off. You know what I mean? So you basically want to, and then the play chip, it usually isn't so. It's made out of a certain kinds of wood, so they don't get a whole bunch of splinters and stuff out of some of the other kinds of woods. That's what I'm saying. Don't that bark mulch is a kind of wood, but it's like too fine, and they get a handful of that stuff, and it's just they get splinters all over their hands. So that's what I'm saying. The really fine stuff, not so good, and also the stuff with the twigs and the long sticks, that's also not so good. Even though, like, you can basically get away with it. I've seen everything known to man under the sun in these situations, and nothing's perfect. You know what I mean? And it's all gonna be fine. But that's just basically what I've noticed, that there is a difference between play chip, and there is a difference between basically garden mulch, okay, or chip mulch. And like I said, you can put it right on the grass, and it's fine. The only thing is like, what you don't want to do is you don't want to weed whack into this thing. Okay, so it is good to even at the bare minimum put gravel around the edges and everything that you don't want to. You know what I mean? If you're just basically don't want to mow into this thing and weed whack into this thing all the time, and then but you don't have maybe in your budget to get the whole pad made, and you don't have the budget for all the chip and everything else, at least you could probably get something just around the structure itself. And so when you do something just around the structure, let me pull up another picture. If you just do it, like I said, like this, if you just do it around the structure itself, that means that you're not going to be weed whacking into this thing. You're not. And you don't want to weed whack into the wood. That's what I'm saying. If you weed whack into the wood every single day, it's going to start chewing up and it's going to not last as long. You spend a lot of money on this thing, you want it to last a long time, okay? That's the only thing I can, those are tips I can come up with, or just off the top of my head. So, but these are the things that everybody asks me about. So I try to make this video quick. It's not all looking that way, but it's probably worth a little bit of a little extra research on this. And like I said, everybody I talk to, they say there's nothing online about this. So if you have any other questions, basically on the screen, you can pause it anywhere on the screen. You'll see my phone number and my email for my business. And so you can go on, you can email me, give me a call, text me, and basically, I can help you out. Okay. All right. So thanks for watching. Have a great day.